The graveyard was quiet. The kind of quiet that presses down on your soul and doesn't let go. Rain drizzled gently over the marble headstones, soaking the earth, the trees, and the lonely figure kneeling near a grave at the far corner, where the grass grew longer, the trees leaned in closer, and few dared to linger. She wore a pale blue waitress uniform, now soaked, clinging to her trembling frame. Her name tag had loosened slightly, revealing just one word, Emily. What was she doing there, crying alone at a stranger's grave? That's what Daniel Everhart, a billionaire no one ever imagined would be walking silently through a muddy cemetery, was wondering as he stopped in his tracks, frozen at the sight. Because the grave she was weeping at was his wife's. 3 years ago, Daniel buried Claire, the only woman who had seen the real man behind his empire. He had only returned to town this week, not to visit her, but to finalize the sale of the old Everhart estate. He didn't believe in signs or fate. But now this? He watched, unnoticed, from behind a tree, as the young woman pressed something to the headstone, a torn paper napkin, folded neatly, before whispering something and rising. Her face was raw from tears, her lips pale, her hair stuck to her cheeks. Then she walked away. Daniel waited until she was gone before approaching the grave. His heart pounded, a strange mix of curiosity and confusion. He bent down, picked up the napkin, and opened it. Scrawled in small, slanted handwriting were the words. Dear Claire, I don't know if you can hear me. I never met you, but I work where you used to come every Sunday. You always smiled, always left me a little more than the bill. People like you are rare. I wish I had the chance to say thank you. I'm struggling, Claire. Life's too hard sometimes. My mom's gone. My rent's overdue. I'm scared. But I still remember your smile. I needed to see you again. I'm sorry for coming uninvited. Emily. Daniel stared at the letter. Something cracked open in him, something he thought he had buried with Claire. He clenched the napkin, eyes glassy, and stood motionless for minutes. Then he made a decision. The next morning, Emily walked into Mary's diner, exhausted. Her double shifts were breaking her, but she had no choice. Her dad left when she was a baby. Her mom died of cancer a year ago. Now, 23 years old, she was barely scraping by. She didn't notice the man sitting in booth 4 at first, a tall, gray-suited stranger in his 50s. But when she got closer, something flickered in her memory. That face, somewhere in a newspaper? A magazine? He looked up, eyes calm. Are you Emily? Her heart skipped. Why, yes. I'm sorry, do I know you? I read your letter. She blinked. I'm sorry. He reached into his coat pocket, pulled out the napkin. Her face turned white. How did you? My name is Daniel Everhart, he said softly. Claire was my wife. Emily stood frozen. I saw you yesterday, crying at her grave. Emily stepped back. I am sorry. I didn't mean any disrespect. I'll never go again, I swear. Please, he interrupted, don't apologize. Your words were more honest than anything I've heard in years. And just like that, he asked her to sit. And despite everything inside her screaming this can't be real, she did. They talked for 40 minutes. Daniel asked about her life, and for once, someone truly listened. Not with pity, not with judgment, but with a strange familiarity, like he saw pieces of Claire in this broken young woman. Over the next 2 weeks, Daniel kept returning to the diner. At first, Emily was nervous. But soon, their conversations became a safe space, talking about loss, about struggling alone, about how Claire had changed them both in different ways. Emily admitted she'd once dreamed of studying psychology, of helping others like herself, but life crushed those dreams under debt and grief. Daniel never once offered her money. He just listened. And in return, she gave him something no boardroom, investment, or yacht ever had: human connection. But others noticed. Coworkers whispered. A few customers stared. And one night, Emily found a cruel note on her locker. Sleeping with rich men for tips? Trash will always be trash. She ran to the back alley behind the diner, crying in silence, not wanting to be seen again. But someone had followed her. Daniel. She tried to wipe her tears and pretend she was okay. but he gently placed a hand on her shoulder. "I used to think money could fix anything," he said. "But it can't fix broken people. Only kindness can do that." Emily didn't speak, just sobbed into his coat as he held her like a daughter he never had. The news broke 3 weeks later. Billionaire Daniel Everhart funds education, housing for local waitress, calls it Claire's last wish. Emily's world turned upside down. Reporters camped outside the diner. People she hadn't spoken to in years were suddenly proud friends. But Daniel made it clear, this was not a handout. It was an investment. He had created the Claire Everhart Foundation, starting with Emily, the girl who had no one but dared to care for a woman she never met. The foundation paid her debts, funded her admission to community college, and Daniel gave her the apartment above the flower shop where Claire used to buy her favorite daisies. But even then, Emily wasn't at peace. "Why me?" she asked him one evening, as they sat outside the diner under fairy lights. "There are hundreds of girls like me out there." He looked at her for a long time before answering. "Because most people see a grave and walk past. You saw a grave and spoke from your heart. My wife would have loved you." Months passed. Emily thrived. She became a part-time counselor for struggling teens. She started leading local support groups. She still worked part-time at the diner, not because she had to, but because she wanted to stay grounded. And every Sunday morning, without fail, she placed a small daisy at Claire's grave, a symbol of gratitude, love, and hope. One morning, she found a note taped to the gravestone. "Dear Claire, thank you for bringing her into my life. You always said love isn't in diamonds or roses, it's in the people who show up when no one else will. I miss you, but through her, I'm healing." Daniel. Tears welled in Emily's eyes. She looked up to find Daniel standing a few steps away, holding 2 coffees. "Mind if I join you?" he asked. She smiled. "Always." And that's how a billionaire, broken by loss, and a lonely waitress, shattered by life, found each other not through wealth, but through the memory of a woman who believed in kindness above all else. Sometimes, the most unexpected encounters at the darkest places bring the brightest healing. Because love doesn't die. It transforms. And Claire's legacy? It lived on, not in marble graves, but in the lives it silently touched.